Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Rotary Podcast. I'm Yuko. I'm the current president of the South Bay Sunrise Rotary Club. And here with me is Jonathan Anderson, our past president of our Rotary Club. And he's here to share some experiences that he's gone through while he was president and after.
Yes, and Yuko, thank you so much for the introduction. It is such an honor to be speaking with you today.
John, you joined Rotary when you were 25 years old.
25 years old. I was very young when I first walked into that 7:15 Wednesday morning meeting. It was a very interesting experience. I was opening an art gallery with my family, and we were removing all the medical equipment from my father's facility, medical practice. And one of the first things he had me do was cold call all the medical professionals to purchase the work. And one of the women that came in, Ruth, started shopping around and asked what we're doing with the building. And we told her we're opening an art gallery and, we want to do philanthropy and all kinds of stuff with it. And she goes, "Oh, I'm part of a service-based club. It's called Rotary. We meet at 7:15 tomorrow." And my father looks at me and goes, "You're going." And I went, "Okay." And so I'll never forget that day when I walked in, my hair wasn't done and looked like a cow had licked my head or something. And I see this room of about, 25 older people that, much older than me. And I'm going, "Oh, great. This is going to suck." And within 10 minutes, I was laughing harder than I ever laughed on a Wednesday morning. And I immediately fell in love with the club and the people. It was a wonderful experience. So
That's great. And you were president during COVID.
yes.
So what service project stands out most for you?
Well, one of the service projects that I really took to heart and something that I'm going to have a passion for the rest of my life was a laptop grant program that I started. It was a very interesting time period. We were doing everything on Zoom, and it was, pretty sad. We were still on lockdown. We weren't allowed to leave our house. We were very isolated. And normally at this time, we had a back to school shopping program, which we would take kids to Kohl's at 7 a.m. without their parents, so they'd be outside, but we would chaperone them and let the kids have this shopping experience that was really wonderful. And they'd get about $250 to spend and be able to pick out whatever they wanted without their parents' oversight. And so normally this $5,000 would go to that. And so I was looking at the budget, and I had heard this horror story of a child that was using her mother's cell phone to do Zoom classes. And the mother couldn't even use her phone at the time. And I just thought, how horrible is that to be, a young kid doing schoolwork on an iPhone every day for hours. It just seemed like a nightmare for me. So in one of our board meetings, one of the first board meetings, because, you get termed in July. And so this must have been, end of July. I'd only been president for about a month. And, it was either the first or second board meeting. I pitched to the club and said, "Hey, why don't we take this $5,000 and why don't we purchase some, Chromebook laptops and identify some kids, some families that are financially struggling or technologically disadvantaged, and let's get them some laptops." And David Hensler, he looked at me and he went, "Why don't you go submit the grant through the district process, and then we'll talk about giving you $5,000 to do that." I had never written a grant before. It was actually incredibly easy. It's essentially a bunch of essays that you need to write and to convince. What is your project? What is the scope? What are you fulfilling? How are you doing it? What's your execution plan? What is your marketing? And then, making sure you recap and have the finances all transparent above board. And, within a day, I had the grant submitted. And sure enough, I got my first $9,500 from I partnered with 3 other clubs to get the increased funds, and we were off. It was at that point I realized $9,000 is not going to cut it. Like, we can do better than that. And so that's kind of when I started to cold call and,
Wow.
let's give people the opportunity to be a part of this. And once I switched that train of thought of I'm not asking, I'm giving the opportunity, I was amazed by how many people gave back. And one of my largest donors gave $5,000 every year without hesitation. So it's just like incredible to just, have an idea.
Right. That's amazing. And that the Rotary gave you that fueled the fire to go out and look for and really offer advantages like that. That's amazing. And, most people out there, they don't even look for opportunities like that. But with the Rotary Club, they boost that motivation and they support you. And I think that's why this happened. And it's so amazing that you were able to do that. Now, during your presidency, I think that we have an international convention,
Yes.
and I believe you went somewhere.
Yeah.
Where did you go?
Well, it was on my second term. I was supposed to go to Hawaii in 2019. No, it was March of 2020 as a pre-thank you for being president. And the international convention was in Honolulu. And I had my tickets booked and I'm ready to go. And of course, the date was like April 3rd or something. And at that point, the country was shut down. So I was very sad to not get to Honolulu. But in 2024, on my second term, as a thank you, that year, the international convention was in Australia, in Melbourne, Australia.
Amazing.
And so the club sponsored me to go down there, and it was such an incredible journey. It was one of the first trips that I actually had taken solo. I got to stop in Japan for 5 days and meet up with one of my friends from college, and
Wow.
then made my way down to the international convention, which you cannot really comprehend the scale of a global community impact until you see the representation of 33,000 Rotary clubs worldwide.
Right. And what's nice about that is whenever you travel somewhere, you look up a Rotary club that's meeting in the area and you just give them a call and you have instant friends.
Oh, I mean, that's not even a joke. The Rotary badge and pin is the keys to pretty much any city. One of the first times I actually did that, I was down in Mexico City for an art fair. And my mother, who, by the way, I got my mother to join Rotary about 7 months after I joined. I think it's one of the first instances where a son got a parent to join versus a parent getting a
That's right.
son to join that's
That's
already in.
great. That's incredible.
And she really fell into it. However, so we were there for an art fair. LA has, I believe, 66 clubs.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty big district for what it is. I went through the Club Finder app. There were like 150 Rotary clubs in Mexico City.
Wow.
I mean, it was insane. And I didn't even know where to begin. So I kind of just randomly picked one based off the closest location to where I wanted to be after and the time. Little did I know, I had actually picked the club of the current district governor.
Oh,
And the speaker that day was one of the most renowned Mexican sculptors. And it was just one of those happen chance moments where we walked into a club. We did call the president and told him, hey, we're going to stop by. We're visiting Rotarians. And they gave us the most incredible welcome. And the artist was so taken aback by, my family coming out of nowhere to just show up to a meeting that we became instant friends. And we were working together to try and pull off an exhibition. They do Rotary a little different in Mexico.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's more like an 8-hour
Wow.
meeting. Their whole day, they start with lunch, or at least that club. They start with lunch and they don't leave until 9 p.m. And
Wow.
Yeah, they share a lot of drinks together.
So it's a party.
Yeah, well, I mean, as I mentioned, David Hensler again. David is an incredible service member with much tenure in Rotary, but his favorite phrase was to always say that they are alcoholics with a Rotary problem. And so those board meetings were fun.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I remember one of your board meetings when you were president. That was an impressive. I think we had 9 or 10, but there was about 9 bottles of wine we finished on that board meeting.
Oh, yes. We have spirits,
Yeah, and we donated like $15,000 that evening to various organizations, and it was like so cool to just be with your friends, to just have a budget and just have fun collaborating. Okay, what are we gonna do for these people?
Yeah.
What is this organization gonna get, and how are we gonna change that? And one of the other things I want to talk about is that we don't just give money when we donate to somebody, we identify what their needs are, and then we purchase it for that because we have a system of checks and balances. We don't want anything to disappear or go into the wrong hands. If you say you need something, we'll get it for you and we'll provide that. And I think the first experience I had was a sports teacher who worked with kids on the spectrum, and she needed specialized sporting equipment, larger bats or softer balls or whatnot. And that was probably week 3 of me going. You guys gave her $5,000 worth of equipment, and she cried. And I was just like, wow, this is so touching to see how you can enact change locally in ways that are normally just hidden, invisible, and unseen.
Right. That's what we call the Rotary moment,
Yes.
right? When you emotionally feel this moment. So it's incredible to be a Rotarian when you do that, when you experience that. But John, you're the gallery director and curator for this beautiful art gallery, which is a work of art by itself. And you have world-renowned artists that come and show their wares. And how did Rotary help you get to that point? Because that's an amazing accomplishment for you.
Rotary was the most incredible leadership program I could have ever taken without realizing I was taking it. With 8 years of service, it wasn't immediate. It does take a while to kind of find your place with the club. You really get what you put in it. And, it's always suggested if you have an idea, you better be ready to be the one to follow through with it. That truly means something because it does provide you with that platform to, okay, you have an idea, then do it. Check back with us in a month. You have a committee, you want to ask some other people to help you out, make it happen and do it, and that's what it was. And it was really incredible. I think I first started with writing the newsletters for you guys.
Oh, yeah.
And I always really enjoyed writing Bill's comments, his little joke of the day. Gosh, that guy's such a hoot. I started with writing the weekly newsletter for you guys, and then I found my way to be the secretary. And, I really fell in love with those board meetings, as you know.
Yep.
Those board meetings were so fun. They're usually taken at one of the members' houses, typically the president's. Maybe it swaps around a bit. We have a couple bottles of wine. We have a pretty good budget based off our fundraising, which is the South Bay Beer and Wine Festival that allowed us to do a lot of things for a lot of different organizations. And, we weren't trying to keep it in an account. We were trying to get it out into people's hands the right way. Every board meeting, we were changing people's lives and having a great time doing it.
That's right.
From secretary, I became the treasurer, which I should have figured that I was being groomed to become president, even though I could not even fathom what that meant at the time. And then sure enough, I think by year 4, I think I was the president of the club.
Wow.
Yeah, unfortunately, it was right when COVID hit, So that was a major bummer to not have that true experience and to not really be able to be a part of the larger district of LA as well. Because it's not just your club. There are other clubs out there, and the networking and the other people. I mean, there's a lot of amazing people in our city around us trying to enact change.
Absolutely. And we're able to visit any of those clubs.
Absolutely.
And you have friends everywhere you go.
Right.
So, and you have the support, and you can collaborate with them on different projects.
Yep.
And that's why we do this, right?
Right.
And being part of Rotary, it's such an amazing network and family. So we are family.
Right.
Right?
I mean, it's camaraderie at the highest level.
Absolutely. As when I joined because, there's a club that's meeting right down the street from me. So it was convenient. So it was really convenience in the beginning. But then I realized the members are kind of quirky and fun, and it wasn't like some other, I've joined many other Rotary meetings, but this one was different. It was fun.
Yeah.
And so I stayed. And they threw me into being president right away. And
Right
it's
away.
like, I don't know how to lead a group of people. And but they won't let you fail. The members won't let you fail. They all have experience, and they'll guide you. They're my masterminds. It's great because they will not let you fail.
what was the term? I think it was voluntold.
That's right.
Yes. You've
Yep.
been, if you didn't show up to the meeting, you were voluntold to do something too. So
You're
you
assigned
better,
something.
you better show up to those meetings.
That's right.
Yeah. So I'm actually really curious. How did you first find out about Rotary? What was your first touch in or tie, that moment?
Right. Well, I had a friend who referred me to Warren. I don't remember what his role was, but I interviewed with him because I came in as a speaker. I came in as a speaker to Rotary, so I was not interested in actually becoming a Rotarian. I didn't even know what it was. So I came in, talked to the club, and people were very warm and welcoming, and they said, "Oh, why don't you come back next week?" So I said, okay. So I went back the next week, and then after the 3 meetings,
Yep.
they had me hooked. So that's how I got in. But it's been a lot of fun. And through Rotary, you meet people, and they have this thing called the craft talk, where you get to talk about your craft, your life, where you come from, what your passions are. And so you get to know each member pretty well after these craft talks. So you become closer. And during the craft talks, you talk about your craft, and people get to know what you do. And now you start getting referrals, and so it's not just about giving back to the community; it's also helping each other and empowering your business. And that's why I joined and stayed, because through Rotary, I was able to grow my business. So, and that was not really my intention, but that's what happens because you create this trust bridge
Yeah.
with people. Like you and I. We were total strangers when I first met you. Now I could just call you, "Hey, we're doing a podcast."
Yeah. Well,
Right?
there's a Rotarian next door to us that has an piece of art that I sold him on the wall right there. So
Yeah.
exactly.
There you
It
go.
really
So,
does.
yep, it's connections.
It's connections.
Absolutely.
And it is a pretty good like industry benchmark. That's not the right word. It's a pretty good metric of a good person.
Yeah.
Someone who's volunteering their free time to figure out how to give back. I mean, that's really special. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
there's so many people, they just can't see past their own face,
Right.
let alone try to be willing to give up their morning or dinner to meet with random new people, then to figure out maybe how they can help. It isn't for everybody, but for the ones that it is for, incredible.
Oh, yeah.
And like I said earlier, you really get what you put out of it. One thing that I did want to talk about was, what inspired me, why Rotary meant so much to me, why it was just such a natural fit. And we mentioned that I'm opening this art gallery with my father, who is an orthopedic knee surgeon. Growing up with him, he was pretty much non-existent in my life. He worked 15 hours a day, 6, maybe 7 days a week. And so we'd have like an hour max a week with him. And to make it up to us, though, once a year we'd pick a country and we'd go traveling there. The first country we picked was China. And this was back in like 2007, 2008. So pre-technological revolution in China. And it was a very eye-opening trip for me. I grew up in the beach in the South Bay. And within a week, I found myself in like far western region of China, visiting this ancient pagoda that was like 1,500 years old or something. But the entire region was like rice paddies. There's very little economical development over there. And thus, the region's destitute all go to beg at this pagoda because that is the only tourism for 1,000 miles. And I found myself at maybe 10 or 12 years old, walking past 1,000 men, women, and children with horrifying disabilities, missing limbs, missing legs. This 11-year-old kid, I'll never get it out of my head, pushing himself on a wooden skateboard he made himself without legs, begging me for money. And I was bawling. And there are times when I think about that moment, I still want to cry because of how sad it was. That's when I realized this world has suffering. We are so blessed to be where we are. And it is on us to do something to ease that burden of suffering. And Rotary was the perfect platform for me to be able to fulfill this visceral desire that started from that day.
Wow.
And so it really was, it's a platform that can change your life. that will change your life if you allow it.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. The Rotary is huge on eradication of polio, and we have fundraisers all the time to do this. But in the world, people were suffering for I don't know how many years, dying of polio and getting debilitated. There's no cure, right? There wasn't.
Well, at that time,
Now we have vaccines to help with this. However, not all countries are allowing it to happen, right?
I think it's
that's
just
why we still have.
still Afghanistan. Yeah.
I think it's Pakistan.
Pakistan.
Yeah.
And it's only like one village or region in it.
Right. So we've almost eradicated all of polio, which is amazing.
Yeah. So what was it, in 85 or something, that the Rotary clubs all teamed together to inoculate the world against polio. And people my age have no idea what polio is. They maybe haven't even seen a picture. If they did, they maybe saw somebody in an iron lung. But if you haven't seen somebody's bones curl, you have no idea how horrible of a disease that was. And like I said, I was in China. I saw that. I saw probably about 15 people who had suffered from polio.
Wow.
And I'm telling you, their arms were twisted into a spiral. It was, like I said, horrifying to see. And when I found out that Rotary was the cause of why you don't see polio anymore, I mean, that's really shows the power of being able to bridge the entire world together.
Absolutely. That's amazing. I got to see an iron lung at one of our polio fundraising events. I think we were walking, I can't remember how far we were walking, but anyway, to be confined in this thing, which is literally an iron lung. It's an iron tube that you have to live in for hours, probably 23 hours of the day for the rest of your life, just to survive. That's
With
awful.
Perfect brain function.
Yes.
You're completely yourself.
That's
It
right.
breathes for you. I think it moves your lungs because you don't have the muscles to be able to expand your lungs anymore. And
We've almost eradicated polio from the world, which is amazing.
Right.
And we're not going to stop until we are completely free of polio.
yeah, what a nasty little bug. It will live in a pond indefinitely. It's just it won't
die.
It won't die. You have to vaccinate the world to get rid of it. It's incredible that there's an organization out there that had the just sheer will to collaborate across the world. And I mentioned earlier, 33,000 clubs in every country combined.
Yeah.
It is a global movement, and nobody is talking about it as much as they should be. Rotary is, they say, one of the best kept secrets, and I don't know why it's
Why are we a
out there.
secret? Right.
Where is this thing that's getting missed?
We don't want to be the best kept secret anymore. We don't want to be a secret.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I think it also kind of starts. It starts at the beginning, and that's why the youth-oriented programs are so important. Rotaract and Interact. Every school needs to start embracing and having an Interact club.
That's right.
Because if you can teach kids at a young age the values of what it means to give back, not every kid is going to be able to go to China and see what I see and have that visceral experience. But they could experience collaboration, camaraderie, coming together, and doing something for the world that is outside of yourself. I think that's probably the real focus to changing and really moving the needle back to.
That's right. And how do we motivate these students? Because it starts with them.
For the children.
So, for the children.
Yes.
So thank you for tuning in to the Rotary Podcast. Stay tuned, stay connected, stay engaged, and above all, service above self.